Adding and subtracting decimals, part 2, where we look at some word problems and figure them out together. So let's get started. First one says, last year San Antonio received 21 56 inches of rain. The year before, San Antonio received 26 9 inches of rain. How many inches of rain did San Antonio receive during the last 2 years? So I'm going to highlight my question first. How many inches of rain did San Antonio receive during the last 2 years? And then if there is any important information in the question, I want to go ahead and circle it. So 21 56 is important, and 26 9 is important. Those are the numbers I'm going to be working with. So it says, how many inches of rain did San Antonio receive total during the last 2 years? That means I'm going to add 21 56 with 26 9. So I lined up my decimals, and after I did that, I noticed that in my first number, I had digits all the way up through the hundredths place, and in my second number, I only have a digit in the tenths place. So I need to add that 0 there as a placeholder in the hundredths place. And now I need to make sure that there's a decimal drop down into my answer space, and then I can add as usual. 6 plus 0 is 6, 5 plus 9 is 14, 1 plus 1 plus 6 is 8, and 2 plus 2 is 4. So my answer is 48 and 46 inches of rain. Let's try another one. Diane went shopping for holiday gifts at the mall yesterday. She had $100 to spend on the gifts. First, she purchased a pair of shoes for $34.98. Later, she purchased a blouse for $29.45. Before she left the mall, she bought a birthday present for her dad that cost $30.69. How much money did Diane spend during her shopping trip? How much does she have left over? Well, I see 2 questions here. So for me personally, I'm going to highlight both the questions, but I'm going to use a different color for each one. The first question is, how much money did Diane spend during her shopping trip? And then the second question is, how much does she have left over? Now, I think what I'll do, instead of circling the numbers that I'm going to use, I'm going to highlight them according to when I'm going to use them. I want to know how much money she spent during her shopping trip first. That's my first question. So I'm going to look at all the numbers that we're told she spent. She spent $34.98, $29.45, and $30.69. So I'm just going to work with those numbers first. So I need to add them up. 34, oh, I did it backwards. 34.98, 29.45, and 30.69. So I made sure I lined up all of my decimals, and now I'm checking after the decimals to make sure that there are digits in all of the place values and that there are no holes. I see for each number there's something in the tenths and the hundredths place, so I'm good. I can go ahead and add. Why don't you pause the video so you can add and then press play to check back to see what the answer is. So Diane spent $95.12 at the mall. Now I need to find out how much she has left over. So I'm going to look and see what other numbers I have in my problem. She started off with $100, so I'll highlight that one in green. So I know I need to use the $100 first. She started off with $100. When she spent the money, she spent $95.12. Because we're subtracting, the larger number has to go on the top. 100 is larger than 95, so it goes up above the 95. And then I'm going to put a decimal after 100 because it's 100 whole dollars. And $95.12 has 2 digits after the decimal. So I need to put 2 zeros after the decimal with my 100 so that each place value has something there. Now I can go ahead and subtract as usual. Why don't you pause the video and check to see if your answer is correct when you press play. Diane has $4.88 left over after her shopping trip. Let's try one more problem together. Scott's goal is to walk 10 miles every week. The data shown in the box below shows the number of miles he has walked so far this week. How many more miles will Scott have to walk on Saturday to meet his goal? So I'll go ahead and highlight my question, and then I will circle any other important information. I think the fact that he walks 10 miles every week is important. Saturday is important, and I notice that as I look at the table, at the days, I don't see Saturday listed, so I'm going to have to find out what Saturday is. Now, if he walks 10 miles every week, we are given Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the distance that he's walked each day. So we need to add that up and see what's left over. I personally think I would like to break this into two smaller addition problems. I've been given information for 6 days, so I'm going to add up the distance for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday first. Then I'll add up the distance for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and combine the two. So let's go ahead and set that up. Sunday was 1 3/10 miles. Monday was 1 8/10 miles. And then Tuesday was 2 1/10 miles. Okay, so I've lined up all my decimals, drop my decimal down into my answer space, and then we need to go ahead and add. So let's see, 3 plus 8 plus 1 is 12. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 5. So I have 5 2/10 miles for the first half of the week. Now I need to add up the rest. 1 6/10, 1 5/10, 1 1/10. Everything's lined up. Drop your decimal down. Go ahead and add and check back to see how you did. So pause the video and then press play when you're done. For Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, he walked 4 2/10 miles. So now what I need to do is I need to combine this answer with this answer to see how much he's walked so far this week already. So let's do that. 5 2/10 plus 4 2/10. Bring my decimal down. 2 plus 2 is 4. 5 plus 4 is 9. So far this week he's walked 9 4/10 miles. What do you guys think we're going to have to do if he walks 10 miles every week to find out what he needs to walk on Saturday? If you said subtract, that is correct. So we're going to do 10 minus 9 4/10. Now 10 is larger than 9, so it has to go on the top. And I'm going to line up the decimals. Well, I don't see a decimal in the number 10. But I know that there's a decimal after 10 because it's 10 whole miles. So I'll put the decimal there. And then 9 4/10 miles has a digit in the 10ths place. So I need to put a 0 here in the 10ths place after the 10 so that I can go ahead and subtract. Got to put that decimal down in my answer blank. Why don't you go ahead and subtract? And after you do that, press play again to see what the answer is. So press pause, and then when you're done, press play. Scott needs to walk 6/10 of a mile. I guess I don't need the S there, huh? 6/10 of a mile on Saturday to meet his goal of 10 miles that week. Your next and final task for your math homework this evening is to answer the summary questions on that final page. There are 4 questions and you need to answer them in complete sentences. Also, there's a section at the bottom of the page for questions you still have. If you have a question, write one there. If you don't have a question, you feel like you understand it really well, why don't you come up with your own addition or subtraction problem with decimals and bring it to your group tomorrow. Good job, guys!